Sports Zone 101 would like to congratulate the Foxy Five on their induction into the RMHS Athletic Hall of Fame. The good news for boys basketball coach Phil Atoff, entering the 1939-40 season, was that he returned 5 of his top 7 players from the prior season, including 3 starters. The downside was that he was bringing back the core players on the team that finished dead last in the Middlesex League with just 2 wins, including losses in their final 11 games. In what only can be described as a Cinderella story, Altoff's team wouldn't suffer their first loss until March, and the Middlesex League champs wrote history at Reading High School by going undefeated in league play, a feat that has not been matched in 78 seasons to follow for the Reading boys program. According to accounts in the Boston Globe, the undersized starting 5 did not include a player that reached 6 feet tall, but all were skilled ball handlers and shooters known for their quickness and most of all for their smarts on the court. In an era where team nicknames were more prevalent than you see nowadays, it took the success of their first 6 games to finally see a nickname for the team to surface in the Reading Chronicle. From that point on, they were dubbed the Foxy Five. The 5 starters were forwards Herb White and Lenny Wright. The tallest member was the 5'11" center Dick Merritt, and the guards were Wally Hazelton and John Hernowski, and the 5 accounted for all but 13 points scored by the team that season. The team's road to an undefeated league slate began against Lexington, where the diminutive White single-handedly outscored the entire opposition with 14 points in Reading's 26-13 win. Next up, the team took the floor in their flashy new gold and black uniforms for their home opener at Parker Junior High School, where they bested Concord by 10 points. White put up 16 points, accounting for exactly half of Reading's total. The Foxy Five sat at a record of 5-0 when they came up against Wakefield, where Hernowski had his best scoring game of the season to date with 8 points, as the team held on for a 4-point win. In a matchup with second-place Winchester, the Foxy Five solidified themselves as a clear frontrunner in the Middlesex League. After the 19-point victory, they had now beaten every team in the league, and the Boston papers were placing them as one of the favorites for a place in the Elite Tech Tourney. White broke out for 21 points, a monster game for that era, and once again achieved exactly half of Reading's team points, and now he was in first place among the league scorers. After cruising to an 8-0 record, next up for the Basketeers was a game against Reading High School alumni team. The Young Guns outlasted their seniors 33-25, with who else but White leading the way with 11 points. Back in league action, Reading moved to 9-0 against preseason favorite Belmont, whom they had beaten by a basket earlier in the season. But led by Hazelton's biggest scoring night of the season, they cruised to an 8-point win. With the league title looming in the next game against Stoneham, an untimely week layoff in the schedule, the team filled the gap by scheduling an exhibition game against the 1937 Reading High alumni team. The 1937 team was known as the Flying Quints and had an undefeated league season of their own while playing in 2 less games. They were led by RMHS Hall of Famer George Wadulski and Wally's older brother Ted Hazelton, with players returning from their college outposts for the contest. In a spirited and largely hyped exhibition, the elder Quints posted an 8-point victory over the schoolboys with a finishing 8-0 run to end the game, in what turned out to be the only blemish on the Foxy Five's regular season resume, albeit unofficial. The game of the season to date was up next at second place Stoneham, a team that was described in the Chronicle as remarkably sure of themselves on their home floor. It would be rare today that a 27-26 final score would be described as toward game, but descriptions of the last 2 minutes of the contest certainly indicated a style of play that was far beyond the norm for that era. Midway through the final stanza, Stoneham had an almost insurmountable 25-17 lead relative to the accustomed style of play. Reading stormed out of a timeout with a few minutes left and scored 6 straight points, with Wright dropping in 2 baskets to cut the Stoneham lead to 26-25. Stoneham passed the ball around the perimeter to try to freeze out the remaining seconds, but White stripped the ball away from a Stoneham ball handler, raced down the court, and pushed up a shot that tantalizingly hung on the rim before dropping through the net with 4 seconds to play. The Foxy Five had completed their unlikely undefeated regular season run 12-0 and captured the Middlesex League title, or as the newspaper headlines described it, nailed it to the mast. As expected, Reading was invited to the Tech Tourney as one of the 8 Class B teams in the state so honored, in the first year of the tourney's 2 Division format. Prior to the start of the tournament, the Foxy Five, still unsettled by their lone loss in the exhibition with the 1937 Flying Quints, offered them a rematch with the taunt, "5 little foxes can't be caught." The Quints' former captain, Radulski, responded to the good-natured barbs thrown their way with a quote from Longfellow, "Sweet is the smell of powder, and thus I answer the challenge." The result of the exhibition was never published, but another sign of the times. The newspaper noted that after the game, a town-wide dance would be held at the gymnasium until 11:30. On to the Tech Tourney, where Reading had the unfortunate task of drawing a 1-loss Framingham team from the very strong Bay State League. It was a back-and-forth game throughout, played at the Hangar Gymnasium at MIT College, described in the Boston Globe as a high-scoring madcap fracas. Reading enjoyed a 5-point lead at the half behind Merritt's 12 points, but there was no sense that Reading was in control of the game versus a Framingham team that had 2 dominant scorers. Framingham came out strong in the second half, and Reading's chances took a big blow when the game's scoring star Merritt suffered his 4th and final foul in the 4th quarter, disqualifying him from the game. Despite the setback, Reading hung tough as they twice narrowed the lead to a single point, the last time after Hernowski's free throw. Then, with 1 minute left in the game, the most dramatic moment occurred when Hazelton stepped to the line with a chance to tie the game. He cruelly dropped the game-tying free throw, but as described in the Boston Globe, the try was negated in a heart-rending break when the referee ruled that his teammate had encroached the free throw line early. Framingham, the eventual Tech Tourney champion, were able to hold on the remaining seconds to procure a 42-41 victory, but not before Reading was tormented one last time when Wright's mid-court shot, released a second after the buzzer, dropped through the twine. Reading's Dick Merritt was named to the all-tournament team for his 19-point effort, scoring almost half of his team's points. In a rare honor for a player from a team not making the final game. For other individual accolades, Herb White was the Middlesex League's leading scorer, and both Merritt and Wright finished in the top 10. The Foxy Five's magical run was over, but the nickname stuck for decades as the players were forever associated with the distinction by the townspeople familiar with that era. It is with great pride the Reading Athletic Hall of Fame welcomes the Foxy Five into its Hall of Fame class of 2017.